truly a spectacular morning. You know, I often wake up pretty tired in the morning, not always motivated to get out of bed. Even though I'm not always motivated, I can always be disciplined, and I have no regrets about getting up this morning. Just beautiful out here. Well, today on this video, I am reviewing a shoe that perplexes me just a little bit, trying to figure out what its purpose, what its intent is. I am reviewing the Nike Kiger, or maybe just Kiger 10. Kind of a low profile, low slung, agile type of shoe. I'll be talking about the overall build quality, the comfort of the shoe, the performance, and lastly, the value. I should also state that Nike did send me this shoe for the purpose of review, but know that all thoughts and opinions are strictly my own. I do have an affiliate link to Nike's website, so if you're interested in these shoes, check out the affiliate link. I also have affiliate links to T8 and Arc'teryx and Hydrapack and CL. If used to purchase any of your gear from any of those affiliate links, just gives the channel a little kickback, so I would appreciate you checking out those links. Okay, with all of that out of the way, let's move on with the review. But I should say, give the video a like, subscribe down below, and consider joining the channel membership. Just another way to give back to the channel if you found this video inspiring or informative. All right, let's hand it over to VoiceOver Chad to talk a little bit about some of these specs and features of the Nike Kiger 10.
Nike states, "The Kiger 10 is one of the lightest trail running shoes we've ever made. Its lean, low-profile design combines with a steady outsole so you can make quick, agile moves on technical trails." As for some of those specs and features, you get an engineered Leno weave upper, which is strong, lightweight, and breathable, a gusseted tongue, Cushlon 3.0 foam midsole, which is an EVA-based foam with blended rubber for responsiveness, 4-foot rock shield, a Vibram Mega Grip with traction lug outsole with lugs at about 3.5 millimeters in depth, 29 millimeters of heel stack, 24 millimeters of toe stack for that 5 millimeter drop, weighing in at 276 grams or 9.8 ounces in a men's US 10, which is 35 grams less than the previous model, and a US MSRP of $160. Chad, back over to you.
So I've had the Nike Kiger out for, what was it, 4 or 5 runs, about 50 miles in total. So all the B-roll footage you're about to see in this video was also recorded after this run, so you're seeing it in its true and current state. I'm trying to figure out what the purpose and intent of this shoe is. I can't tell if it's just a good, agile daily trainer, or is it more of a race day type shoe. It's a fun shoe, but let's talk about build quality and comfort for a moment. Nike always seems to do a pretty good job when it comes to their build quality. They don't go with the most fancy of materials, but it's good material and good build overall anyways. I really like the mesh upper in the Kiger 10. It's very breathable and adapts around your foot and to the trails quite nicely. Tongue is not padded, but it is gusseted on both sides, and the laces, nothing fancy there, but they do lay nice and even and flat across the top of your foot. The fit of that upper is definitely more narrow fitting, especially when it comes to the outside of the shoe. Right along here, it just kind of cuts in to your foot just a little bit, so if you need more of that wider toe box, you're not going to get that in the Kiger 10. On the heel and the ankle, you get some really nice, kind of dense foam padding back there. It's somewhat stout, so it holds your foot, your heel, really well in place. I will add that although the overall fit is a little bit snug, I do find that when the trail really gets slanted, undulating, you know, kind of slanted back and forth, that my foot does tend to slide kind of to the outside, one side or the other of the shoe, which I find a little interesting considering that it is more of a snug, slim fit. I think what Nike should have done is added either some TPU overlays or some sort of additional fabric underlay, as I call it, inside the shoe around the midfoot to help add a little bit more security. I think that would help hold your foot even more precisely and securely in place. Considering that there's not a lot going on with the upper, it's quite comfortable. I really do actually enjoy it and like it. Moving down the shoe into that midsole, you get their Cushlon 3.0, which I've never heard of before, but apparently they're on version 3 of that foam. It is a rubberized or rubber infused EVA foam. I think the foam is, it's soft enough and responsive enough, but it's also not anything too fancy. I'll get into performance here in a little bit on that foam, but I just want to say that it is pretty comfortable on the trails, considering that there's only, what, 29 millimeters of heel stack, so not a lot underfoot, but it is nice. More on performance here in just a moment though. It's not a perfect foam by any means. You do get a 4-foot rock shield. It's not a rock plate, it's more of like just a denser portion of the rubberized foam, but it does do a pretty good job at protecting your foot when you step on those rocks. I do find, however, that right here on the middle of the, if I can balance on one foot, right here, if I step on rocks in this portion of the shoe where there's not the rock shield and also where there's no rubber, then I do feel the rocks kind of push up. It's not all the time, but it is occasionally noticed. And then of course you saw that outsole rubber, the Vibram Mega Grip with those traction lugs. It is outstanding. It seems to be lasting a long time. We've gotten a little bit of rain, and so the trails and the rocks are just a little damp this morning, but I am not lacking in traction at all. Up to 3.5 millimeter lug depth. It's more like maybe 2.5 to 3 millimeters throughout most of the shoe. Surprisingly, still very grippy. I do wish that the lugs were just a little bit deeper. That would help add to the longevity of that outsole. But overall, I think the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. The individual components of the shoe are by themselves adequate and good enough. That outsole rubber though is outstanding. And then it all came together. Nike really did a good job putting it all together in a package that is a lot of fun on the trail. So overall build quality, I'm gonna give it probably an 8 out of 10. And overall comfort, considering that this is a lower profile, agile type of shoe, it's not one that you're going to be doing your 100-mile races in. So overall comfort, I'm going to give that probably a 7 out of 10. I think there's definitely could be some improvements, maybe a little bit of padding in that tongue, a little bit of extra security in the hold with some overlays or underlays inside the shoe around the mid portion of your foot, maybe just a little bit more room in the toe box, something a little more anatomically correct. Even something like the Wild Horse 10 has a little bit more room in the toe box, and maybe extend that rock plate into the mid portion of the shoe. All right, so that's all I'm going to say about build quality and comfort. I'm sure I missed something, so if you have any questions, drop them down below in the comments. And it's just a beautiful morning. I love how green everything is. I'll be making my way up to the top of that ridge right over there, and then we'll get some pretty awesome views, and then we can talk about the performance of the Kiger 10. Okay, moving on to performance. I've got a lot of thoughts. Hopefully I can articulate and remember everything that I've been thinking about. Performance of the Kiger 10 is a little bit of a mixed bag in my opinion. I love the low profile, agile and nimble, connected to the trail feeling that I get in this shoe. In the sea of high stacked trail shoes these days, I feel like the Kiger fits in with something unique, even special. Nike touts it as their lightest Kiger to date, but I do think that Kiger could be even more lighter. And that's where I kind of feel conflicted. Is this a race shoe? Is it one that I use as a tempo type shoe on the trails? Do I do just my casual shorter miles in them? I've enjoyed the shoe, but I can't quite pinpoint its proper use case. Nike knew they wanted to come out with a updated Kiger 10, and they provided some good updates, but they didn't really tailor it for what this shoe's potential was. again, all that is just my opinion. I do think one area of big improvement could have been in that midsole. You know, 6 years ago, this Cushlon 3.0 midsole would have been pretty awesome. But now, today, we expect so much more out of our shoes. And I think if they went with more of a beaded TPU type foam, or even a more responsive React X type foam, that would have made this shoe really come to life. Would have made it a lot more fun, more of an inspiring underfoot feel, something where it really rewards that faster tempo and those faster leg turnovers, that faster type running. It's almost like Nike was saying, we can have a great midsole or a great outsole, but not both. So the upper performance could be improved as far as that overall lockdown feel, although I do like the breathability and the adaptability of the upper. I like that the tongue is gusset, it just wraps around your foot quite nicely. There's been no rubbing or hot spots or blisters of any kind anywhere in the shoe, even though my foot does kind of slide in the shoe a little bit on the more extreme tiltness of the trails. Does that make sense? Kind of like this section of the trail right here. So I'm coming down this rock and it's slanted quite sideways, and I can feel my foot just kind of sliding to the outside of the shoe. And it's, I don't know, it's just observed. It's not uncomfortable, but it is something that impacts the performance aspect of the shoe. I think this is how I would describe the Kiger 10. And I always go back to a car analogy for some reason on some of these reviews, but it's kind of like the Mazda Miata or the MX-5 of the world. It's not a super high performing sports car, but there's something kind of special about it and also kind of fun. That outsole rubber, the Vibram Mega Grip with those traction lugs, even though they're not overly deep, it does do a phenomenal job on all of these, you know, rocks and in the trails. It just does a good job at gripping into just everything and just really gives you a lot of confidence. Oh, I just stepped on a rock in the middle of the foot and felt that. So again, rock shield, perfect, except where you don't have the rock shield. If I had to choose one thing to improve upon on that outsole, it would be the lug depth of the lugs. I think if they were more like 4 millimeters, that would be outstanding. So just to finish off on performance, I think there's two things that would really make a big improvement on the performance of the shoe and really make it that more inspiring speedster of a shoe. One, improve that midsole, give it something more bouncy and inspiring. And two, make the shoe overall more lightweight. That'd be like giving your stock Mazda Miata some tuned suspension and a turbocharger, just making it that much more fun and faster of a car. Same thing in the shoe, but just make it so much more fun and race day ready. So to answer the question, what is this shoe good for? What is the purpose or intent of the shoe? I still don't have an answer for that. I think you can race in this shoe and probably successfully, but it's also not the most race worthy. Can you take it out for a tempo run? Yeah, and if I'm honest with myself, I do feel faster in this shoe than most other daily training shoes. Does that make this a daily training trail shoe? No, I don't think it does either. It's a little too low profile, not enough midsole stack or softness underfoot. Just not the type of shoe that you want necessarily to take out on every single run. But it is nice to take out for something just different. It connects you to the trail in a fun way. Maybe I'm just spoiled and come to expect a lot out of shoes these days. I don't know. What are your thoughts? As far as value is concerned, at $160 US MSRP, I think that is a okay price to pay. Shoes are getting more expensive these days, and so I'm glad that Nike didn't inflate that price too much, but I also think there's a few compromises at that price point. I'm very happy that they gave us a Vibram Mega Grip outsole. I feel like you're getting a quality build and good upper materials with a slightly lackluster, less inspiring midsole. Morning. And if you're looking for kind of a low profile shoe There aren't too many on the market. A couple that come to mind are the Innovate Trailfly, a shoe that I actually really did enjoy, as well as the North Face Sky 2, another shoe a little more premium of a price, $200 for that one, but one nonetheless that I really enjoyed and used for race day. So do I recommend the Kiger 10? I think it's worth checking out, but I think the Innovate Trailfly, or even better, the Trail Talon, a really fun and fast shoe that I really liked, that if memory serves me right is the same price point at $160. I think that's definitely one you should check out as a consideration instead of the Kiger 10. But now I'd like to hear from you. What are your thoughts on the Nike Kiger 10? Is it one that you're eyeing and considering, or would you consider a different shoe like the Innovate Trail Talon or the North Face Sky 2? Let me know in the comments. I'm really curious to hear your thoughts. All right, I'm getting pretty close to the car, finishing up this run at about 10.85 miles and 1,900 feet of elevation gain. Just a beautiful morning, absolutely loving it out here on the trails. And of course, I've got a lot more coming to the channel. Shoe reviews from Solomon, from Craft, from the North Face, and so many more. So stay tuned for that. Please subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Remember to be consistent, express gratitude, and enjoy every mile, as I have today in the Nike Terra Kiger 10. Alrighty, see you on the next video. Bye now.